Good morning and welcome to Purpose Driven Finances, where our focus is helping you use your finances to achieve the purpose and plan for your life. And now here's the host of Purpose Driven Finances, Alan Molina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning. This is Alan Molina, your host, Purpose Driven Finances, President Serwus Capital Management, helping you achieve the purpose and plan for your life. I hope you're having a great weekend. You know what? The snow's coming down. It's a glorious event. Hopefully it's no ice. I heard it's going to be really, really easy to shovel. So get your teenagers out there or your grandkids. Shoo-wee, I think I was 5 years old, 6 years old, and I was shoveling snow. That was a little different day, you know, and I lived in New York for a little while. Well, probably not in 5, but it's all right. Sitting here with my favorite co-host, Rich Roth. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. What part of New York?
Pulaski.
Huh?
Pulaski. Down here, we say Pulaski. Up there, they say Pulaski.
Where is that?
It's about 45 minutes from Watertown.
Where's that?
Okay, Watertown. 45 minutes northeast of Syracuse.
Oh, okay. So you're up there.
Up there. I love. Have you ever been on a snowmobile?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you kick it. I mean, it's so much fun. Aren't you guys glad that I was adding? You know, it sounds like we're watching.
The sound effect was great.
It's awesome, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
And sitting there, and it's just so much fun. But I was driving through there, and I had never in my life seen stop signs 10, 12 feet up in the air. I mean, it's, you know, here it's normal, like you can touch them. I'm serious, 10, 12 feet up in the air. And it's because of the snow from Lake Erie. Just this year, in 2 weeks, they get over 60 inches. You know, and down here we complain about 2 inches. Oh, Mr. Magoo. That's a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
don't get me started on that either.
Exactly. So I almost was like, Rich, what do you want to do today, man? You know, because folks, I'm standing up now and trying to get more active. So if my voice goes away, that means I took a walk.
So what we've got right now, Alan, is we've got both extremes on each coast. We've got snow and cold on the East Coast, and on the West Coast, we got fire.
Yes. I don't, yeah, it's really sad what's happened out there.
Mm-hmm.
Sad for the people. And I'm going to go on a rabbit trail. I was at the post office here in Forest, and I was, you know, when I'm in line with somebody, I just don't sit there. I like to talk to people. And there was this guy in camo, and he looked like a hunter, looked like a good old boy. So I was like, I can relate to him. So I was talking to him, and he was like the Department of Game and Inland Fishery guy over like a magnanimous large number of counties. I was like, what you doing today? He said, I was up bear hunting. He said, I didn't see a thing. He said, those doggone folks up in Charlottesville, what happens is every time we go to clean out the old oak trees up on the mountain, the liberal folks up in Charlottesville, they take us to court and we can't clean them up for years, if ever. And he says what ends up happening is that's what causes all the deer and bear and stuff that eat acorns to come from the mountains to come down, because the big mature oaks don't produce as much acorns as a whole bunch of newer oaks. And he says what's going to end up happening is we're going to have a significant fire one day, and people are going to use some colorful language. He said people are going to belly ache and moan and complain that the entire mountain is on fire, but it's because people don't allow forestry to actually manage the forest. And I hope it doesn't happen here in Virginia, because we are seeing what happens when a bunch of bureaucrats want to take care of newts or flowers or some fish that no one cares about instead of people. And it's just sad, and it's ridiculous, and really, really sad for those folks.
Well, I was going to say, and along those lines, I heard, Kim Gardner and Chip Harvey from State Farm were on the morning line earlier this week talking about the fires and how everybody's complaining that there's, no fire insurance, but they're sitting there going, State Farm and the other companies' hands are tied,
right,
because they needed to raise rates and they, California wanted to, regulate rates. And,
Right.
If they couldn't get what they needed to get, they couldn't offer the insurance. So again, it's the same thing. It's, these, and I'm using the air quotes, the do-gooders who think that they're helping,
Right.
that they're really screwing everybody.
Exactly. And I've talked to folks about it in Twitter. If an insurance company, if my son decided to go get 3 speeding tickets, they're going to drop him and possibly drop me. And that's the same exact thing with your house. If you don't properly maintain your house and the stuff around it, guess what, folks? They're going to drop you.
Well, and the more likely that there is, a lot of people were predicting these fires were going to happen at some point. Like you were just saying, up in the woods, when they're not allowing people to do the things that will help prevent that, and, it reminds me, my dad lives right near the ocean, and the flood insurance is crazy because you're in South Carolina, hurricanes happen, floods happen. So insurance companies have to protect themselves. And if you're likely to get a flood, your insurance is going to be way higher. And if you don't allow that to happen and they don't offer insurance, what happens when the flood comes?
Right, exactly.
You're screwed.
Exactly. And the other item that happens when it comes to insurance is if they don't raise rates, then what ends up happening is if they don't have enough, if there's a mass event, then what ends up happening if there's 1,000 homes that need to be replaced or insured, but they only had enough to do 400, so what are they going to do? Go out of business, and then everybody's even more in trouble? And so it's just utterly ridiculous. It's bureaucrats and the elite doing things that they think are beneficial, and it just hurts ultimately everybody. And it's sad. So folks, I really didn't want to go too much down a rant, but one more thing. I'm going to rant. I got one more thing too.
Okay, and I was just going to say I was watching an episode of Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
And they were protesting, killing cattle and killing beef and all that. And, and the character goes, well, so what do you want? You want us to grow, tofu or vegetables or whatever. And, when we plow the ground, we kill the bugs and the worms and it's take your pick. What do you want to happen? You think you're protecting something, but, it's going to affect other things.
Right. And the sad part is so much of our world has gotten to where people are not the most important thing. And I'm not even talking about profit. I'm talking about trees, a newt, a salamander, which is probably the same thing, a flower, a fish, a tree. People are more important. And the earth has been created and it's pretty amazing what it can do in order to deal with the crap that we do as humans. And it's sad, but one last thing, if you don't mind, I know it's my show, but I'm.
I was going to say, I don't mind. Do whatever you want.
I saw today that they released him. Not today, yesterday.
Who?
Some citizens caught this guy with a blowtorch starting fires. The police on Friday put out a video that said we have no reason to hold him in custody because we can't prove that he was doing it. I'm like, dude, he had, from my understanding, I think he had 5 phones on him, and he had cards from the United Nations, a debit card from the United Nations. 5 phones. What the heck, man? And a blowtorch.
How many do you have?
From the United Nations?
How many phones do you have?
I got one.
That's all I got too.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing for us, unless you're a real estate agent. I've seen them have multiple phones.
Oh, really?
But if you got more than one phone, unless it's for business and personal, yeah, we should probably have Dr. Tim Clinton on about that, counseling. But folks, we only have 5 minutes to go before we get into the meat of it. What I wanted to do is, with everything happening in California, things that happen in North Carolina, I wanted to give you some quick things in order to protect you and your home, because a lot of folks that I'm listening to, that are listening to me, the largest investment they have is their home. A lot of people, that's the way it is. That being said, here's some things that I'm going to run through. And also, I want to let you know that probably by Tuesday, Wednesday, you can go to my website and you can get a replay of this show. But also, I'm going to do a little PDF that you can download, because the second half of the show you're going to need, because every prospect that comes into my office, they ask the 4 things, and we're going to cover them over the next 4 weeks. So let's run through quickly things to do to protect your home. Clean up the vegetation around your house. Pretty easy. But there's this house that I see every day I drive to work or leave my house. They haven't cleaned up the vegetation in years. And so clean that up, because what happens is bugs get in there, which is the biggest issue is termites or powder post beetles. But also, if a fire happens, it's a lot easier to catch on fire. Upkeep of your home. Did you know that your homeowner's insurance company, they normally are supposed to go look at your house once a year or every time it renews? And if you have missing shingles on your roof, if you have water leakage, they're supposed to either say fix it or we're going to cancel your insurance. So make sure you keep up your home. Third, Rich, I don't know if you've ever checked into this, but use technology in your home. There's some things that you can put like down by your water heater that if it leaks water, it recognizes it. You can even make it where it shuts it off, and it'll notify you. It's pretty cool. We're not talking about gallons. We're talking about just a little bit. So, some leak notifiers, you can probably put them under your sink. I mean, you can really go out. Smoke and CO2 alarms. Another thing is cameras. And I'm not talking about cameras to spy on folks, but like put one in if you have a room where your heater is, your whatever, the heater, the AC unit, whatever that stuff is called, where your water heater is. HVAC, thank you.
Yeah. I'm here for you, Alan.
No, I appreciate that. But also, have you ever seen fire blankets?
Mm-mm.
I'm going to send some to some clients. It's basically a blanket. If something's burning, you just put over it, it puts it out immediately. And it doesn't catch on fire. It's pretty cool. And, because those types of things, people are like, oh, why don't I need a fire blanket? Get you a grease fire in your kitchen. You're gonna be wanting one. Also, fire extinguishers.
You don't just throw water on those?
Yeah, that would be exciting. That's exciting. And the other thing is, what I would do is when you get your homeowner's insurance, check the fine writing. What I mean by that is, does it cover sewage backup? Does it cover rainwater that comes in your foundation? Does it cover wind damage? What do they consider an act of God? Things such as that. Because I have seen insurance that it sounds great, but it's not worth the paper it's written on.
All right, so I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
What percentage of people do you think actually read their insurance policies? And then you can give me a number.
2 to 5%.
Okay, and now how many of those are engineers?
Right. Yep. It's funny. I'm not an engineer, but I read them.
But I would say a vast majority would be engineers.
Exactly. You know when they do read them? When they need something.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
When they need something. And then, folks, another thing I would look at is getting an umbrella policy. Contact whoever you have your home and your car. I would suggest bundling them and get an umbrella policy. It's pretty cheap. And I went through my policies. My middle son, since they live at the house, I cover their car insurance. His is the most expensive. It's because you got a ticket, bro. You got a ticket.
Well, and he's younger, and
Mm-hmm, exactly. But finally, folks, the other thing I'm going to suggest to you, we got 20 seconds, and we're going to do probably a minute break, is get involved in your city and county politics. You say, why? Well, I'm hearing the Palisades, they're going to rezone from an R1 to an R3.
What's that mean?
Multifamily.
So all the homes that are burning down, they're already trying to rezone into multifamily homes.
That's what I've heard. So if you don't want that to happen to you, get involved in politics. My wife will be happy I said that. So, folks, give me a call, 434-316-0246. We'll probably take a 30-second break and catch you on the flip side.
Dan
Bongino.
Even if you are a diehard liberal wearing 7 masks in the courtroom or whatever, you've been on the subway, you've been harassed, you know what that's like, you know the fear. And the thing about the subway too, folks, is it's a tube. So when you've been on the subway and some disgusting pig starts flashing people, robbing people, beating the crap out of people, there's nowhere to go.
The Dan Bongino Show, weekdays from noon to 3 on WLNI. And now, back to Purpose-Driven Finances. Here's Alan Molina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning again. Alan Molina, host of Purpose-Driven Finances, president of Serwus Capital Management. Hopefully your teenage son or grandson is already, or daughter, you know, want to be an equal opportunity snow pusher. Get them out there. Hopefully they've taken care of that. But folks, this half of the show, what we're talking about is every time a prospective client comes in my office, they will ask these questions. I've even had some people go to Google and say, what's the top questions I need to ask my financial advisor or my new financial advisor when I'm looking for a financial, you know,
as you're kind of vetting them, you're talking
exactly.
About. Okay.
And so the top 4 that I've narrowed it down, because you can expand these as, A, are you a fiduciary? Are you fee only? How do you monitor my account? And what about financial planning? Those are the 4 main questions that I get asked. I get asked a couple other things. Now, folks, I'm not covering, we may do a thing after the next 4 weeks, but I'm bypassing where are you registered, or do you commingle assets, do you use a custodian? We may do that in another series, but that stuff is pretty self-explanatory. If your advisor is commingling assets, you better run.
You mentioned the FINRA, being registered with FINRA. There's something, is it a U2, a U4?
U2, U4, that has to be done. But
that's something where you can check and see if they've done shady things in the past, right?
Or, been arrested or bankruptcy, if they owe taxes, things such as that. That being said, today we're going to look at fiduciary. Now, Rich, the nice thing, Rich, is I'm going to put all this on our website. It's going to be under a blog post, and that way you can listen, but also get this information and some links. Rich, I know what a fiduciary is. What's interesting is the information that's available on the web, because I'll research this stuff to see what prospective clients or clients look at. And looking up fiduciary on the web is about as opaque as mud. I was amazed. Because if you go to the Virginia code, that's what I like to do. I don't want you to tell me what you think, feel. I'll go to the Virginia code. Oh, my word, man. Oh, my word. And then you go to the part that really regulates me or people who do in my industry in Virginia. I was like, oh, my word, this is not helpful. Because it was the name for a fiduciary, that you could use about 4 or 5 different names for a fiduciary. I was surprised. And a lot of it has to do with estates and trust and, if you're a fiduciary, if you manage the money for your disabled kid. I mean, it's rather interesting. Mm. And so what I wanted to do is take today, to talk to you, because if you're listening to this show, you're my prospective client. And if you are my client, thank you. The first thing is, now, Rich, I don't really want to ask you this because you already know it. But the difference between a broker, a dealer, and a fiduciary. You know what the difference is, at least I would expect you to, because you've been there. But a broker-dealer is really, what their number one goal is?
Make money.
Yeah. Broker a deal. That's easy. And I'm not throwing a broker-dealer under the fence. Not under the fence. It doesn't help. Under the
bus.
Bus. Thank you. I was thinking about cars. My brain was just not working. I'm not throwing broker-dealers under the bus. I used to be a broker-dealer. I've had relatives that were broker-dealers. So I'm not throwing them under the bus. I'm just telling you the difference. A broker-dealer, the number one goal was to broker a deal. whether it's in your best interest or not. Their goal is for you to buy or sell something. It doesn't really matter what. Now, a fiduciary is required by law to put your interest first.
And I'm sure people are sitting there going, wait a second. Shouldn't my financial advisor always be putting my interests first?
It's not required by law.
Unless they are a fiduciary.
Correct.
And more are trending in that direction.
Yes. And what's interesting is even the Department of Labor has gotten into messing with this. Because whenever a person becomes a new client of mine, we go through the Department of Labor checklist in order to communicate everything, which is interesting. And the real reason for that is because of retirement accounts. They want to make sure it's in the client's best interest. So I thought it was interesting. Then number two, what is really required by a fiduciary? First of all, I'm going to get some legal. The duty of care. What duty of care means is the recommendations from all available information are in the best interest of the client. Now, what does that really mean? That means when the investments are suggested, that you get all available information and it's in the best interest of the client. So what does that really mean? What that means is not only should the advisor, who is a fiduciary, talk about your risk tolerance, your time horizon, your goals and objectives, things like that. But also they should have a process that is robust enough that can be explained and has, what's the word I want? Some legitimacy to why they want you to buy or sell something. There needs to be a robust system. Whether that's like my QPM, there's a tremendous amount of research, or is it just, hey, it just looks good. It has a good track record. What you need to do is find out what's the reasoning behind the recommendation. Why are you recommending this? Why are you recommending me to sell it? Why are you recommending me to buy it? And just ask why. Go deeper into the weeds than just, so what do you suggest? Well, here's a portfolio, but why? That's what I would suggest. And don't be shy.
And the answer is hopefully not, because I need to make a commission.
Right.
Right, which is really what this whole thing is protecting you about, because I know one of the next ones, next week you're going to talk about fee-based versus commission, but in order to be a fiduciary, you have to be fee-based, correct?
Basically, yes. And so with the investments, it's glossed over a lot of times about the process, because frankly, I could list, I got all kinds of names of folks here in Lynchburg. And I'm kind of stepping away, and I'm not saying that what I do is the best. I'm trying to go from a radio guy and say that whoever it is, there needs to be some robust research and explanation as to why an investment is suggested or a portfolio. Not just because, folks, I've been there. I've been there where we had a great lunch by the folks at American Funds. And guess what we did after lunch?
Sold a bunch of American Funds.
We did. We invested in some. Oh, man, I love that story. Since 1952, it's up so much %.
And that's not to say American Funds is a bad investment or anything like that. You were just giving an example.
Exactly. So I don't want American Funds sending me a cease and desist order. I'm just saying.
Well, and I had to jump in because years ago when I was doing what you do,
right?
It's like, you cannot make a specific recommendation, talk about a specific stock, whatever. And I know you're.
Well, that's a broker dealer.
Right. Yeah, you're a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to cover your butt.
I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it. I don't want anybody, because we've already had other people contact you, say, hey, get him to calm down. But that's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind staying within the fence. And then the other side of it is planning. What is the process to determine your answers?
Process. I've heard you say that before.
Right. Is there a in-depth, Monte Carlo simulation to determine the returns in order to determine if you're going to have a quality retirement, or is it just using averages?
I know we're short on time, but I got to ask you to explain a Monte Carlo simulation to folks real quick.
Okay, Monte Carlo simulation is basically a computer program that will take, a lot of times they'll do 500 to 1,000 iterations of 10, 20, 30 years of different returns each of those years to come up with an average. And what's amazing is...
So it's basically just testing the investment.
Right. What's amazing is you do that many iterations, you're going to get pretty close to averages. It's an amazing, it's the bell curve. And so you just need to be consistent, but also make sure you're comfortable with the process. Because realistically, coming up with the returns that you need in retirement, it's not rocket science, and it's pretty simple math. We make it a lot more complicated, but it really isn't. Third is duty of loyalty. And what I mean by that is me as a fiduciary are loyal to the client, not to my wallet. Now, if you're a girl or from California, loyal to your pocketbook. So, but I'm loyal to I can't be loyal to my wallet when I'm dealing with a client. And so what ends up happening is I need to make sure that the investment I choose or the platform is in the best interest of the client. Then finally, or not finally, but duty of loyalty. I forgot to mention this. You know, sometimes as a RIA, registered investment advisor, fiduciary, I have to communicate to clients or prospective clients that a couple of years back I did a seminar and ProShares, they came and they footed the bill. It's an ETF company.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to communicate that. You know, say, hey, I don't use ProShares because I wanted them to pay for the meal. I use ProShares and I used enough of them they wanted to pay for the meal. And I knew when I was at other firms, that was a regular thing because it was mutual funds. And
annuities too.
And annuities. Mm-hmm. You can actually get them for Medicaid, Medicare. I've seen some of those. I've also seen it for life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times they'll come. And so you need to make sure that when they're presenting a product, that it's not because, hey, we're footing a bill for $1,000 or $2,000 meal. And so make sure it's a loyalty to you, the client, not to their wallet. Finally, fiduciaries are normally fee only. But what's interesting is fee only, that sounds pretty simple there, Rich. But there's a lot of nuances.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of nuances. You know, there's a firm, they really, really ham up that they are fee only. What does that really mean? We're going to talk about that. And what's interesting is the Department of Labor has actually got into, are you fee only? So we're going to talk about that next week. Also, one thing that I don't like, because I felt icky, is fiduciaries can actually sell insurance. And the reason I stopped selling insurance, because I was registered and all this other jazz, is because I felt icky going to my client and saying, listen, you need $2 million worth of life insurance or $500,000, and we just did a financial plan for you. And
here, let me sell it to you.
Exactly. I just felt icky. Doesn't mean that other people, I'm not throwing stones. I'm not burning bridges.
It's a personal choice.
I just don't like that. And finally, there needs to be disclosure of any conflicts, which is really kind of funny. It's really who pays them. And as a fiduciary, realistically, the only person that pays me is my client, not Charles Schwab, not an annuity provider, just it's Charles Schwab. So, folks, we went through a whole lot. Give me a call at 434-316-0246. Go to my website, servuscm.com, and go to the blog area. All of these notes and the show will be there for you to review. You have to put in your email, but for you to get it. I hope you have a safe weekend. Stay off those roads if you can, and I'll catch you next week.
Returns for illustrative purpose. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or use a platform. Only will a suggestion occur after a meeting to determine goals, risk tolerance, and time horizons. Investments involve risks and no guarantee of future results.